Welcome into Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, joined by Wade Neely. We will be with you here for the next 2 hours, right up until 3:59:48-ish, let's say. So get in, sit down, shut up, and hang on. Big show today. We have got in the second hour, VALAIR SHABILLA to tell us what's wrong with the Nashville Soccer Club, and there seems to be quite a bit.
It ain't good.
And it's not good when you've played as long as they have in MLS this season, and you've got one in the left-hand column. It's not good. It's not good. So Heather Williams joining us in the next segment, talking a little NASCAR. They ran at Dover this past weekend. They run at Kansas this coming weekend, and we will get some insights from her on what happened and what will happen. So stay tuned for that as well. We'll be talking some Braves. Another tough night out on the left coast. We'll be talking some Astros. Things starting to look up as Thomas Harding promised.
Maybe.
Yeah. And some other interesting events going on across Major League Baseball last night. We'll be touching on those. Also in the grab bag, portal news, which seems to be dominating college athletics these days, particularly on the hardwood. Oh, there was a little hockey game last night too, wasn't there?
Hello. How about the Nashville Preds getting the win up in Big Vancouver?
How about that? So yeah, we'll touch a little bit on that as well. So yeah, a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about it. Wade may talk about it more than I do because, as you can tell, the voice is still not great, but we are soldiering forward. So we're going to give you what we got, and right now, let's give you to start yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Buckle up, boys and girls. Today's rundown kicks off, as always, with results from last night. Baseball action kicking things off here on our scoreboard as Columbia Academy defeats Grace Christian Franklin 10-7. Eagleville knocked off Forest 5-1. Summertown a lot, Giles County a little. 14-1, as a matter of fact, was your final score there. Good win for the Eagles down here in Pulaski. Santa Fe picks up an 8-3 win versus Hampshire. It was Loretto 11, Lawrence County nothing. Providence Christian defeated Franklin Road Academy 2-0. Richland 14, Hickman County 7, and White House defeating Joe Burns 14-3. Small slate of softball games last night, but they were as follows: Blackman 10, Franklin County nothing. Green Hill wins it 6-3 versus Forest. Greenbrier knocks off Hendersonville 7-2. Zion Christian knocking off Marshall County 14-10. Nolensville 2-0 over Ravenwood. It was Siegel knocking off Oakland 1-0. Stewart's Creek 12, Eagleville 11, and Wilson Central defeats CPA 16-3.
In boys soccer action yesterday, Antioch with a 4-2 win over Overton. It was Blackman 3, Green Hill 0. Columbia Central with a 3-0 victory over Zion Christian. Marshall County and Columbia Academy played to a 3-3 draw. It was Giles County 8, Lincoln County 1. Hendersonville with an 8-0 win over Lead Academy. Laverne defeated Stewart's Creek 3-2. Montgomery Bell Academy with a 3-0 win over Lipscomb Academy. Loretto down Wayne County 6-0. Siegel doubled up Nolensville 2-1. Riverdale with a 3-0 shutout victory over Warren County. It was Beach 2, Station Camp 2. Christ Presbyterian Academy with a 10-0 win over White House. In Major League Baseball last night, as we mentioned, the Houston Astros with a 10-9 win over the Cleveland Guardians, and the Seattle Mariners defeated the Atlanta Braves 3-2. At First Horizon Park, the Sounds opened their 6-game series against Norfolk with an 11-5 loss to the visiting Tides. And in Stanley Cup playoff action, the Preds forced Game 6, halfway to Game 7, with a 2-1 victory at Vancouver last night. So
Good win last night for Nashville. Those were the results. Let's bring you the schedule. Kicking off today's baseball action, games underway beginning at 4 o'clock include Rossview versus Clarksville Northeast, Hillsboro at East Nashville. 4:30 first pitches, White's Creek, down at the creek, I guess. White's Creek will be at Hunters Lane. Stratford is at MLK. Rockvale will be at Oakland. 6 p.m., Laverne will be at Cookville. Fayetteville is at Eagleville in a game that we'll broadcast on Pulaski Citizen Live tonight. Giles County will be at Lawrence County. 6:30 start time is Columbia is taking on Coffee County. Springfield is at Clarksville. Blackman will take on Siegel. Those games beginning at 7 o'clock. A start time unknown to us, but we do have on our schedule Summit scheduled to take on Centennial. Softball action tonight. St. Cecilia Academy is at Christian Community. That game beginning at 4 p.m. At 4:30, Ravenwood will be at Brentwood Academy. Also at 4:30 tonight, you can see Lawson at MLK, Harpeth Hall at Pope John Paul II. At 5 o'clock this evening, Summit traveling to Dixon County. Clarksville Academy will be at Friendship Christian. Brentwood is at Independence. Giles County making a quick trip over to Loretto. At 5:30 tonight, it'll be Riverdale at Rockvale. Riverdale also scheduled to take on Baylor. I assume that Rockvale game is going to be the one that eventually takes place tonight. So look for Riverdale and Rockvale to get it on toward the end of the regular season at 5:30 tonight. Smyrna scheduled to visit Blackman this evening. Eagleville should be at Community at 5:30. At 6 o'clock, Forest traveling to Oakland. Start time's not available to us, but we do have listed Hillsboro at East Nashville, MLK at Innsworth, Houston County at Harpeth, Clarksville Northeast at Kenwood, Clarksville Northwest at Kirkwood, and CPA at Lipscomb Academy.
On the pitch tonight, short slate, 6 o'clock starts for Greenbrier at Kenwood and Stewart's Creek at Wilson Central. Major League Baseball, here in about a half hour roughly, the Braves and Mariners have their first pitch out at Seattle in the final game of that 3-game set. You can see it on Bally Sports South, unless you got Comcast. 7:10 tonight on the MLB Network, and on Space City, it's Cleveland and Houston continuing their series. 6:35 tonight at First Horizon Park, it's Norfolk continuing its series against the host Nashville Sounds, and that is your rundown. Top story today brought to you as always by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items as well as their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you today's top story. The Tennessee Sports Writers Association handing out some hardware today, a double dose actually. Our weekly awards. Austin Peay outfielder Lyle Miller Green went 500 for the week, 7 of 14 with 5 home runs, 12 runs driven in, and 11 runs scored to earn Player of the Week. Vanderbilt right-hander Bryce Cunningham threw a complete game shutout Friday as the Commodores defeated Mississippi State 4-0, earned Southeastern Conference Pitcher of the Week, second week this year, and earned Tennessee Sports Writers Association Pitcher of the Week honors as well. In softball, Freed Hardeman sophomore Olivia Eggleston was named Player of the Week after hitting .529, getting a hit in all 4 of the Lady Lions games this past week, driving in 10 runs, 5 in a 9-2 victory over Cumberland with a 3-run homer and a 2-run single. Trevecca pitcher Ashlyn Sensing, again, the TSWA Pitcher of the Week, as she collected her 23rd career shutout in a 5-0 victory over Cedarville. Had a 0.50 earned run average in 2 games, both complete game efforts, 16 strikeouts in 14 innings, limited opponents to 154 batting average, 8 total hits, walked 3. So Lyle Miller Green of Austin Peay and Bryce Cunningham of Vanderbilt are your Player and Pitcher of the Week in baseball from the Tennessee Sports Writers Association. Olivia Eggleston from Freed Hardeman and Ashlyn Sensing from Trevecca are your softball players and pitchers of the week. Congrats to all. Now, the TSWA also announced its Women's Basketball Award winners for the 23-24 season earlier today. Tennessee's Rakea Jackson was named the Player of the Year after averaging 20.2 points and 8.2 rebounds per game, leading the Southeastern Conference in scoring, ninth best single season scoring average in Tennessee Lady Vols history. First team All SEC honorable mention All American was Ms. Jackson, and she wasn't sorry, by the way. So Rakea Jackson is your TSWA Women's Basketball Player of the Year. Your TSWA Women's Basketball Coach of the Year needs no introduction. Friend of the show, Rick Ensel, led MTSU to a 30-5 record this season, a perfect 16-0 record in Conference USA play. They swept the regular season and the tournament championships, and then went on to defeat Louisville in the opening round of the NCAA tournament down in Baton Rouge before falling in the second round to eventual Final Four participant Louisiana State. So congratulations to Coach Ensel. I don't think this will make up for the CUSA Coach of the Year snub, but hopefully it'll help.
Yeah, we certainly hope that he appreciates TSWA honors, but I mean, yeah, he's still got that one in his craw a little bit, I'd imagine, right?
I think he will remember that one going into and going through next season as well. So, yeah, that'll definitely. MTSU is always something to keep an eye on, but MTSU women's basketball with a chip on its collective shoulder is probably a different sort of beast. So we will be watching them intently as we typically do. Also, among those 30 wins for MTSU's women was a win down at Huntsville against Rakea Jackson and the Lady Vols in December. So, again, congratulations to both those recipients, as well as the TSWA baseball and softball players and pitchers of the week that were honored earlier today. Wade, we have a couple of minutes before a break. Suddenly, between a short rundown and a short top story, again brought to you by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mail in Columbia. Any thoughts as to how we should attack this next 5 minutes?
Well, I was just going to say a couple things. Number one is brace yourselves, folks, because the rundown was short, but that was probably only for today because starting tomorrow, most of your district tournaments kind of get underway, some getting underway this evening. We'll be doing that Giles County, Lawrence County game, like I mentioned, tournament play at host sites tonight, and then the winners or losers advance to the final site, which will be at Tullahoma. So the rundown will definitely be lengthier going forward. And we've already, it'll definitely firm up as we head in. And then one other thing that we were discussing, Coach Ensel, I just realized this when I'm reading the announcement here. It didn't really dawn on me at the time, but I didn't realize that they trailed by as many as they did versus Louisville. And that was the fourth largest comeback in the history of the NCAA tournament. I didn't quite have that context because I flipped it on a little late, and MTSU was kind of, holding court by the time I was really watching the second half of that game. And the fourth largest comeback in tournament history is
well, I think at the time it was the second largest. Wow. And it was surpassed,
eclipsed
twice since. So yeah, they I think they were down like 17, maybe.
18 points.
18, yeah. So yeah, but like I said, I think it was surpassed the next night when Iowa State came back and beat Maryland in the opening round. And then I think one other time during the tournament it was eclipsed as well. So
they were number 2 for 24 hours
for a little bit.
And also worth mentioning, this is the final Blue Raider note, at least on my end. Can't remember if Chip mentioned it or not yesterday, but that was voted as the moment or game of the year for MTSU.
For the Raiders Choice
Choice Awards. Yeah, last Thursday that Chip was emceeing. So they got some quick kudos and well-deserved as they make that big comeback knocking off Louisville. And, man, it would have been epic had they been able to hang on in that next game versus LSU.
Yeah, it would have been indeed. Middle's never been to the Sweet 16 in women's basketball, I don't think. So, yeah, that would have been huge, especially beating LSU at the PMAC. Would have been huge. You mentioned that game was a Raiders Choice Award winner, and it's interesting because when we talked to Chip a couple of weeks ago about how you are eligible or what events and that type thing are eligible for those awards. Middle beat Alabama in the softball regionals last spring, which was also a moment that was up for that same award, I believe, by virtue of the fact that it hadn't taken place at the time of last year's award. So it's not necessarily in a school year. So.
Yes, and where did that go? I'll pull up that here in just 1 second. They were still given some recognition.
Good.
As I found last year's. Okay, here we go. Maybe I can pull this up performance of the year. So the game of the year was the MTSU win over Louisville. The performance of the year was that softball standout Gretchen Mead, who threw 19 innings in wins over Central Arkansas and Alabama, allowing just 1 run in that epic kind of performance, which justly dovetailed into her receiving performance of the year.
Certainly.
While we're just running through here, just one other. This is a fun one, just fun for me to dream about because obviously this will never happen to yours truly. But the play of the year for MTSU was Lauren Gilchrist, who's on the women's golf team. She bagged a hole-in-one at the 146-yard par 3 during the second round of the Chattanooga Classic. So I guess 2 things, because she also finished 1 under par at 70. So I will never have either of those experiences in my life. I'm pretty fairly confident. As crazy it is to think about, I'm probably more likely to hit a hole-in-one than I am to finish around
1 under
par. Yeah.
Well,
now that I think about it, I mean, there's a small element of, obviously you got to be really skilled to get a hole-in-one, but there is a little bit of element of luck. So I feel like I could check that box, but as far as finishing 1 under, I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon.
You can get lucky for 1 shot.
Yes. Yeah. The round that I have a hole-in-one, I'll probably still finish 15 over par. So.
Well, we're not going to talk about my golf exploits.
And that's with a hole-in-one for the record.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. When we come back to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we will be joined by our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams, talking about Dover and Kansas. So stay tuned when we come back after this break.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
It's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. At the end of the show, we will be bringing you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Be sure and stay with us. Some of that might even involve some sports talk, so should be a lot of fun. Maurice Patton, Wade Neely, and we are now joined by our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Bristol. Good evening. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. How about you?
Doing all right. It is a Chamber of Commerce day here in Bristol, so excited about that.
Well, enjoy that, because as Wade was saying, we're expecting a little precip at the end of the week. And of course, because we're getting high school spring sports postseason play started, so you can't have that without having some weather interruptions. So here we go.
Yeah, just on cue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like clockwork. Heather, we've had 11 races. 2 guys have won 3 each, and everybody else has won 5. What were your thoughts about Denny Hamlin winning at Dover this past weekend?
Expected. I mean, I expected him or one of the Hendrick bunch to win that race, or another Gibbs car, like maybe Martin Truex Jr. or something like that. So not a huge surprise that a Gibbs car was in victory lane. I mean, really, it's been the Gibbs and Hendrick show. It's been the William Byron and Denny Hamlin show, and it looks like those 2 guys are going to be the top 2 guys in the garage all season long. They were 2 of the top guys in the garage all last year. And honestly, they're probably the top 2 drivers in the sport right now.
Hey, you mentioned Truex. He only finished 3rd behind Larson. Kyle Busch, the pole sitter, finishes 4th, followed by Chase Elliott rounding out the top 5. What is it they're doing that nobody else is right now?
They have more money and better engineering. I mean, it basically comes down to that. I mean, they just, when the next gen car came into the sport 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, nobody knew what they were doing. everybody's on a level playing field. We saw a ton of winners. I think 15 winners that first year. But now, as the bigger teams get a better handle on the car, we go back to what the sport's always been. I mean, the bigger teams with the most money are usually the ones that are at the top. You don't see a lot of smaller teams jump up and win championships or compete for championships. And you're starting to see that kind of, as the advantage that was taken away from them by a new car goes away, you're seeing those top teams rise to the top again.
Heather, I did love the comment from Denny Hamlin, who, led so many of those laps, and then puts him in a tie with Lee Petty for 12th on the all-time Cup list. And he said simply, "I couldn't hold Lee Petty's helmet." Said he did give props to the race team, saying he's been blessed with the team, and you kind of always do a great job. But I guess I'm still just blown away by, as talented as these drivers are, if the team is not performing well behind the scenes, you realistically, it seems like, have no real shot of finishing well, let alone winning on most given days, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of a season now, really, really talented drivers will find their way in situations where they can win races. Take like an AJ Allmendinger. He was in Penske shortly, so at that point he wasn't one of the top rides. But for the most of his career, he hasn't been in the top rides in the garage area, but he wins races on road courses because he's an elite road course racer. Same with Michael McDowell. He's never really been in top cars, but he's won some road course and super speedway races because he's elite at those disciplines. But over the long haul, to be able to win the kind of the number of races that Denny's won, or that Kevin Harvick won, or Kyle Busch has won, you really do have to be in the top organization. Now, it takes talent too, because there have been plenty of guys that have sat in those same seats. I mean, least we forget, before Denny Hamlin jumped into the 11 car, that was not one of the top rides in the garage area. Joe Gibbs Racing was a good organization. The 20 and the 18 were elite rides, but the 11 car was always like the afterthought third car in the organization, because they only had 3 cars at the time. But when Denny Hamlin jumped in there, he took that equipment and made the most of it. So you need both. You really do need both. But if you're only going to have one of the two, the car is probably more important than the driver.
Also interesting, Heather, what can you tell us about the big surprise that was announced Sunday morning in regards to Kevin Harvick and what he's got going on? Is this really going to happen? What's the latest there?
As far as him practicing the All-Star race?
Yeah, he's gonna step back from the headset into the driver's seat. Is that right?
For practice, for the All-Star race. So Kyle Larson is doing the double, the Indy Coke 600 double. That's the following week. But the week of the All-Star race is qualifying for the Indy 500, and it is obviously really important that he qualify that car. And the schedule is so that he was not going to be able to practice the car at all. Like, he's not going to be able to. And so I think how Kevin Harvick factors into this is that obviously Hendrick Motorsports wants a driver who is available, first of all. Second of all, very successful and can give good feedback on the car. So it's set up for Larson when he comes and jumps into it, if he can make it for the heat races and qualifying, and then, for the race the next day. And there aren't that many people that fit the bill. With Harvick just retiring a year ago, obviously he's been, not even a year, he's been in the next-gen car. He knows how it works. He knows how it's supposed to feel, how it's supposed to be fast. And so he's the logical choice to do this. I mean, they could have gotten a development driver to do it. They could have gotten, an Xfinity Series driver to do it, but I think it was really important for them to find someone who's had success on the Cup level to do it, so all Larson has to do is jump in it and go. It'll be set up, it'll be fast, it'll be good to go, and that's something you just learn with time. So it makes a ton of sense. It's funny, you can tell that sometimes Kevin misses it. I don't think he misses like racing, 38 weeks out of the year. But I think he's going to really enjoy jumping in this car. And it's actually good for Fox, too. I mean, one of the things that's been good for the Fox broadcast is that, for the most part, their drivers are much younger. And so they've been in the equipment more recently. They understand how the cars react. But, like, Boyer hasn't been in the next-gen car. Harvick has. And, him getting in there kind of continues to give them information about how these cars react on certain racetracks.
That's a point, Heather, that I'm not even sure that
Uh-oh. Lost Mo.
He froze on us for momentarily.
Yeah, it's coming back.
I was just saying that by Harvick being able to do this, it gives him a little extra insight when he to the booth into what's going on.
I mean, it's like a football player getting to jump in and play just a game, in the middle of the season. How much more do you understand about the modern game if you've read a game last week? So same difference, and it's good for Fox that he can do that. And Junior drives the Xfinity car. Of course, he's not on the NBC team anymore, but that was always so valuable because he was in a car.
And so this is really just a one-off. The fantasy in me, there's no shot that regardless of what happens, this doesn't lead to him extending the weekend. This is purely for that practice run, correct?
Well, so he's not eligible for the All-Star race because he isn't running full-time this season. I don't think. Maybe he is because he did win a race last year. But no, Kyle intends on being back for the All-Star race. I mean, I guess stranger things have happened. But I'm not sure even if I'd have to check. I have to get Bob Pockers on this. He knows all the rules on these things. But I know that you are supposed to run full time to be eligible for the All-Star race.
Yeah, I think he's technically not eligible, but I'm just envisioning, some sort of movie script type situation where, hey, man, I finished first in all the buildup. Why don't you just let me take a crack at it, and then we'll let the filmmakers do the rest for us.
Yeah, probably not. But I think that if he enjoys himself, there could be an opportunity where you might see him pop up in a one-off Xfinity race like you do Junior all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's still a possibility because he is running late model stuff in his late model car.
Those guys just can't get it out of their system, can they, Heather?
It's hard to walk away, but that's not the NASCAR thing. How many NFL players do you see sticking around into their late 30s and 40s where they should have hung it up a long time ago? Or a baseball player.
Earlier this week, Gerard Mayo made the comment that we don't think Tom Brady's coming back, but if he decides he wants to, we'd welcome him with open arms. What is that?
I don't know, but I would welcome him too as a Chiefs fan. I want a 50-year-old Tom Brady out there playing quarterback.
There you go. Exactly.
The Chiefs, we've seen the Chiefs do a number on Brady in games.
Brady's done a number on the Chiefs as well, so it's pretty even. That last Super Bowl that he won was at the Chiefs' expense. Of course, that was just because we had no offensive line. I mean, the three of us could have gone out there and blocked better than the offensive line in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm envisioning a repeat of poor Tom out there at this age and getting his knee shredded like all those years ago against KC. But you're right. It's crazy how an athlete, a competitor, a racer, whatever sport or entity you're in, it just seems like that's in your DNA, and it's just so hard to get away from, whether you've been out for a couple weeks or months like we were talking about with Harvick, or guys that have been out even longer than that.
Well, I talked to my friend who's a former Cup Series crew chief that's now crew chief in the Truck Series today for a documentary I'm working on, and I asked about this certain player, this certain owner walking away, and was he at peace with it? And he looked at me and he said, no true competitor is rarely ever at peace of walking away. The ones that walk away at the right time are just smart enough to know that it's time, and they're either going to hurt themselves or ruin their reputation. But no true competitor is ever really at peace at walking away. And I thought that was some interesting insight, whether you're talking about racing or in the other sport, because you see it all the time.
Heather Williams of WCYB TV in Bristol joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Next up, Kansas.
No place like home.
There you go. Are you making it out?
I am not making it out. I went last year. I do my annual trip home to Kansas City to watch my niece and her dance recital. It was the same weekend last year, but it is a week later this year, so I will not be making it to Kansas. But it has quickly become, in the next gen era, maybe the most entertaining track on the circuit. The racing there is really good. The track is super wide. It's high speed. There's more, because it's so wide, there's less aero wake, so there's more room on the track to pass. There's a lot more passing at Kansas than there is at some of these other tracks that are narrow and there's not as many lanes. And it is a Toyota dominated track. If you are 2311 or Joe Gibbs Racing, you are so happy to be headed to Kansas, and maybe even a little bit of Legacy Motor Club just by default because they're a Toyota. But the Toyota cars have been unreal. I think the 45 car won 3 straight races there with 3 different drivers. So they won with Kurt Busch in a race, and then Bubba Wallace was in the 45 the next race it won, and then I think Tyler Reddick won in that car there. So those guys are really happy to see Kansas on the schedule.
Particularly Bubba, I would think, who has not been great this year.
Look, when you look at his overall stats, he's actually way better than he was last year. But It doesn't feel as good because he's not getting the finishes he deserves, but based on the way he's running. He's actually before that last week at Dover, he was in the playoffs by 2 positions. He was 15th. He's actually fallen out by 1 position. But at the same time last year, he was out of the playoffs by 3 positions. So he's actually running and finishing better right now than he was a year ago. But he's actually running better than he was a year ago. He's just not getting the finishes it feels like he deserves. So it doesn't feel as good as it probably should, but they're close. And Kansas could be the weekend because them in the 54 and probably the 6, trying to think, and the 12 are probably the guys that I would say are next in line to win a race. That they're consistently running better than what they're finishing, and a win is coming.
I love it when Heather starts referring to the cars by their numbers and not by their drivers.
And you're like, who am I talking about? Okay.
Exactly.
So, okay. I said the Bubba, the 23, Ty Gibbs in the 54, the 6 is Brad Keselowski, and the 12 is Ryan Blaney.
Awesome. I need a roster.
Okay. I'll work on that for you.
Flip card for us, please.
I'll work on that for you. Or I'll just try to remember to do names.
No, that's okay.
It's hard to come
well, here's the deal. Ideally, in this segment, we've got a bunch of people watching and listening who know who you're talking about when you say that. I'm just not one of them.
Well, but I want the people that like you that aren't one of them to still be able to enjoy what we're talking about and to learn a little bit about the sport. And one of the things that this sport really needs and it's lacking is connection to the drivers right now, because we've had a huge turnover. You talked about Harvick and having a dream of him being in the car. Like, we've lost a lot of that generation of drivers in the last few years to retirement. So connecting to these younger drivers is something that the sport needs. So personally, I will make it my mission to call them by name a little bit more, because we need that connection to drivers. And there are some cool drivers in the garage area, like really fun, neat guys that the sport needs to do a better job. And I think the next Netflix series helped with this a little bit. I think the sport needs to do a better job of really promoting these guys as personalities and not just cars and numbers.
Well, that's kind of where I come in, Heather, to get you to kind of dumb things down a little bit. But producer Mark chiming in on the private chat, I thought Mark Martin was number 6. And I want to go back to something that I think came up the week that I was out. Tell me about Mark Martin and his favorite recording artist.
I don't know.
Wade, help her out. He's a huge Gucci man. Mark Martin
loves rap music.
The clip went viral a couple weeks ago where he professed his love for Gucci Mane and went deep in the weeds. I was impressed. He went deep in the catalog and was shouting out old songs. So Mark Martin, big fan.
He's a complicated man, more complicated than he's ever been given credit for. Like he has just a fascinating outlook on life. I think a lot of people just looked at him like this little Arkansas redneck, but he's actually way more interesting than he's given credit for. So I know that he's talked about other rap artists in the past. I guess I just missed this Gucci Mane thing. I'm kind of interested. I'll have to go back and look.
You will have to go back.
It doesn't surprise me in the least. It just doesn't surprise me in the least coming from Mark.
It's a great clip, and so a shout out to producer Mark for bringing that up. Any chance you get to mention Mark Martin and Gucci Mane in the same sentence, you kind of have to.
You would probably be surprised at how many NASCAR drivers are into rap music, maybe more so than country music.
Now, let me ask you this: would we be more surprised, or would the NASCAR fan base be more surprised?
Both. Both. I mean, they're all into country music. Well, I wouldn't say all of them, but there's a large majority that are into country music. But there are equal amount that are into rock, especially rap, especially some of the younger guys.
Well, the thing that threw me for a loop is, love the guy to death. Mark Martin is 65 years old, and so that's just what threw me for a loop. And he mentions Dr. Dre and talks about Snoop a little bit, okay, I'm on board. But when he just went off deep in the weeds, like I said, on Gucci Mane, that kind of just a little bit of a head scratcher just because of the age gap. But
hey, hold up. Why are we hating on old folks, Wade? All of a sudden.
It's age gap within the realm of NASCAR rap appreciation. How about that?
I mean, I'm just going to say this. I get down with some Snoop and some Dr. Dre. I know nothing about Gucci Mane. I would fit.
You haven't been hanging out with Mark Martin recently.
Apparently, that's where I'm missing out for sure. I'm old though.
Give that a check whenever you get off air here and let us know what you think, because it's a cool interview, and he, like I said, he knows his stuff. So
it doesn't surprise me, because I had heard that he liked Dre and Snoop and rap music before. Like, I had heard him talk about that, so it doesn't surprise me. I just hadn't heard that particular. So I have to. Wasn't he on the Dale Jr. download a few weeks ago? Is that what it was?
I forget
where
what it was. I just saw it on one of the.
I mean, I could look it up,
memes.
but I mean, I thought he was on the Dale Jr. download a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
could have been.
Look that up and report back to us next week. Heather Williams at Sports Heather on X or Twitter, and we will be talking to her next week about Kansas and whatever else comes up on the track. Heather, we appreciate it.
You could always talk about my Royals too, or my Chiefs. It's a good time to be me.
I do want to ask you one thing. How shocked were you on Thursday night when the Chiefs got Xavier Worthy?
I was pretty shocked that he was still there for us to take. And then, well, first of all, I was shocked that we traded up, because we never trade up.
With Buffalo.
I mean, well, unless we're trading up with Buffalo. That's the only people that will trade up with us, which they have now given us 3 gifts. They gave us Patrick Mahomes. They gave us our all-pro defensive back, whose name just totally jumped out of my head. And now this one. So Buffalo is doing as much to keep the Chiefs at the top of the AFC as the Chiefs are, which I appreciate. But I was shocked that he was there and they were able to get him. And I'm excited. The Chiefs had a really good draft, but Brett Veach does that so well, and that's why when they have these big salaries of the big 3, they're still able to win, because he knows how to go find the young guys.
There we go. Heather Williams, bringing you NASCAR and more right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOAF Columbia.
How do you feel about the Titans draft? I haven't heard that.
I think it's cautiously optimistic at best. But, J.C. Latham is huge, and Bill Callahan's going to get him coached up. He's going to be fine at left tackle. Past that, the Titans have so many holes that hopefully they threw enough at it that a few of them will stick, and they won't be drafting top 5 again next year. So we'll see how that goes.
Because personally, I like it when the Chiefs and the Titans were at the top of the division a few years ago. I really enjoyed that from a personal standpoint. I like the Titans. I've lived in Tennessee a long time. I like it when they're good. So I need for you all to come join us.
We'll see what we can do. Thank you, man. We'll catch up with you.
See you guys.
All right. Hey, when we come back here to the Lee Company studios, I guess we're going to talk a little Braves. I'm suddenly not real excited about it, but, into each life some rain must fall, right? Stay tuned when we come back from the break. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
May 1st, 2000, Quilvio Vera scored both runs, one on a solo homer in the third inning to lead the Braves past the host Dodgers 2-1 for a franchise record 14th straight victory. Veras and Andrew Jones each had a pair of hits, while Kevin Millwood threw 7 shutout innings to earn the win. That was this day in Braves history. Welcome back to Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, as we get into a little Brave/MLB chatter. And we had a rare occurrence last night out at T-Mobile Park as the Braves fell to Seattle 3-2, following their 2-1 loss in Seattle on Monday. That's the first time all year that Atlanta has lost consecutive games, which tells me that today should be better, right? Maybe.
And the good news, you mentioned those two scores. What? Read those off to us again.
3-2 last night, 2-1 Monday night.
Don't exactly sound like Atlanta Braves scores, but you and I are in the same boat, Mo, and this is our favorite time of the year. It's May 1st. Now's when them juiced baseballs start coming out, and the home runs are about to start
warming
popping
up a little bit. Yeah.
And this is when everybody, when the big dogs start hitting finally. So don't fret, my man. The runs are on the way.
You know, I'm not terribly worried. You know, if you watch Braves Twitter, there's a meltdown after every loss. And Yao and I've decided it's because the South is such football country that they've not recognized that every game isn't do or die like it is in a 12-game college football schedule or in a 16 or 17 game NFL schedule or anything like that. So, you know, you gotta manage those emotions a little bit with baseball. But at the same time, I ain't used to seeing these guys lose 2 in a row.
Well, Seattle's a good team too. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
To the White Sox.
Well, but we did.
Not getting swept by, or not losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. Let me preface that.
Yeah.
Anything can happen on one night, 2 or 3 nights, then we a little more indicative of something.
Right now, the Braves have runners at second and third with 2 out. I'm sorry, first and second with 2 outs, and Marcell Ozuna at the plate. He, the leading RBI guy in Major League Baseball and number 2 in home runs right now. So maybe we can get off to a good start. Nope, we did not. Struck out on a changeup. Nothing going to the bottom of the first in Seattle. Chris Sale getting ready to go to the mound for Atlanta, 3-1 with a 3.69. Former Georgia Bulldog Emerson Hancock just got out of a big threat early for Seattle, 3-2 with a 5.06. Hancock was the number 6 overall pick in 2020. So, homeboy doing the home team dirty. Wade, as we mentioned in the rundown, your Astros had to work a little extra last night, but a 10-9 win over the Guardians in 10.
Crazy game. Didn't watch any of it, but was following the scoreboard kind of as the night went along. And Cleveland got up early, and you're thinking, all right, here we go again. Just kind of like how Houston has been playing all year. And then the next thing you know, it's 8-3, and you're saying, oh, okay, got a little something here. As Houston, it was lead. They were down 3-0 in the first. They're 8-3 after 5, and then Cleveland ties it up with 5 runs in the sticks, and you're saying, "Oh, great, here we go again." Cleveland even scores in the 10th inning, but Houston gets 2 runs in the bottom of the 10th to win it, and maybe a little bit of a gut check, show a little signs of life. Bregman finally with a nice homer last night, 3 RBIs on the night, maybe. Houston coming around. They also sent down Abreu, I'm pretty sure that I read too. So they're shaking some things up, trying to get something going. And if they can maybe notch another one versus a pretty good Guardians team here, maybe start righting the ship a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's got to do a lot for confidence getting one from Cleveland in that situation. So, and yeah, like you said, Jose Abreu got sent down to the Florida Complex League. He had to consent to being sent down because he's got more than 5 years of Major League service, and did so. I guess he realizes he's struggling as well. But ex-AL MVP going down to get some work in, hitting 0.99 in 22 games. No homers, 3 RBIs, and 15 more strikeouts and walks. That's ugly.
Yeah, has not been good for our guy. And the news coming out yesterday in that division in particular about Mike Trout. They don't think it's going to be a season-ending injury, but Mike Trout could be missing an extended chunk of time. So the Angels kind of falling back down a little bit. The A's presumably would fall back down a little bit. If Houston could kind of start making a charge, you could get past them, and then you're just looking at the Rangers and Mariners. Still only 6.5. 6.5 games back, as bad as they have played and as talented as that division is at the top, especially. They're sitting okay for right now.
Yeah, Mike Trout with a torn meniscus that will require surgery. torn meniscus in his left knee. I expect it to hopefully get back sometime in July at the earliest. And man, this guy has been beset with injuries. It's crazy how much time he has missed. Wrist inflammation, calf strain, back, fractured hamate, and now a torn meniscus. Tough. The Angels signed Kevin Pillar to take Trout's roster spot, and but you hate that, and I hate it, particularly for Ron Washington, the first-year Angels manager, who obviously spent a lot of time with the Braves and really hoping to see him be successful with that team, but knowing that, they've got a tough uphill climb and just got tougher with Trout, who leads the majors in home runs to this point, being out for the foreseeable future. We had Thomas Harding of MLB.com on yesterday talking about the Colorado Rockies and former UT standout Jordan Beck, who made his debut last night for the Rockies in Miami. Had a couple of knocks in a eventual 7-6 Miami victory, but getting his career at the major league level off to a great start.
Yeah, and I mean, we were kind of singing this guy's praises yesterday, so makes us look like a little bit of soothsayers here, as the Rockies have some talent. Thomas said, what did he say, 2026 yesterday is the year when they really could start making some noise. And I was, if we had time for one more question, that was one that I would have snuck in is, it seems like franchises follow some sort of trajectory, right? And you get really, really, really bad, and then you start stockpiling this talent, and you're bad. But then there's that 1 year where you start, okay, I know we're going to be bad, but we're going to be fun to watch. And then the next year you get kind of frisky, if you will. And then after that is the year that you kind of start competing. And I was curious where we were on that Rockies time-space continuum right now, because it seems like there is a little glimmer of hope for that team, as bad as they have been thus far.
Yeah, the young kids, they've got a lot of them and a lot more coming. So definitely going to be a team to keep an eye on. It's just out there in that NL West where you've got so much else going on and so much star power. They've really got a battle in front of them as far as that goes. Speaking of the NL West, a couple of those teams met at Chase Field last night. And, even if you aren't a Major League Baseball fan necessarily, what went on at Chase Field last night was pretty fascinating. They had a 2-hour delay because a bee colony had taken up residence on the netting behind home plate. They had to call a pest control specialist, specifically Matt Hilton of Blue Sky Pest Control.
Of course.
Had to call him away from his son's T-ball game to come in and jump on a lift and remove the bees. No bees were harmed in this removal, by the way. So,
which is important to note, because a lot of folks are quick to point out bees are dying at an alarming rate. So it's good that no bees were harmed.
No bees were harmed.
That was a fun story to follow last night. Thrust into action right there.
And then as his reward for coming and taking care of this matter, there's video of him up on a lift, like sucking the bees down from the top of the net and all that. But they were treated with a non-pesticidal solution and will be released off-site. And according to this CBS Sports article, there are a handful of bee delays in baseball each season, typically in the Southwest, but not always. Playing while the bees linger is impractical. All it takes is one foul ball to the net for all hell to break loose. So all they can do is wait for the beehive to be cleared. So Matt Hilton got that taken care of, and then got to throw out the first pitch to an adoring crowd. So, and that's pretty deserved.
Yeah. MLB tweeted out last night, he is pure electricity. And I mean, I'm curious though, and I guess we kind of got our answer last night. How does the process work? Hey, let's call up our B guy. You know, who is our B specialist? And at least luckily for the D-backs, they had that guy on speed dial.
Well, apparently, I would like to think that everybody, all of those stadiums have like some type of exterminator that is available for different issues, but who expects that?
Yeah. Hey, I can't be your bee guy, but I could, you know, be your dragonfly infestation type person. So, you know,
I guess you got to wonder in this area if there is a cicada specialist for the sounds.
That's where I was immediately going, is who's on cicada patrol for the Southeastern teams here right now.
Absolutely. The Sounds fell to Norfolk last night, 11-5 at First Horizon Park. Robert Gasser taking the loss for Nashville in that one. Gave up 3 home runs. And that's going to do us for hour number 1 here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Come back to the Lee Company studios after this break, and it's the grab bag. Stay with us.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, commences right now. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, and it is time for the grab bag. And we're going to start it with, they say that the two most beautiful words in sports are Game 7. We're almost there, but you got to have a Game 6 first, right? That's Friday at Bridgestone Arena as the Predators take on visiting Vancouver after a 2-1 comeback victory in Game 5 last night. And we've talked about getting outplayed and that kind of thing. Vancouver had to – who's muted? Me?
Nah. You're good. Frozen now. But yeah, kind of just talking about the Predators game last night as they defeat Vancouver 2-1, and watching the game last night, I thought it was very, I'm not going to say grim, but it was not looking great for Nashville as the game just continued on, and they missed chances here, they missed chances there. And after such a hard-fought series where it didn't look like anything was going to bounce their way, things take a turn for the worse in the third period as Vancouver does finally slip across the game's first goal. And at that point, you're sitting there thinking, oh, my goodness, this is going to fall apart right in front of us. And then in the blink of an eye, the universe conspired in favor of the Preds as they rally in the third period. Very workmanlike effort, just getting some grimy play from really everybody on the ice. And as a result, the Preds come back and not only equalize the game, but then they go ahead and getting a second goal late. Had a chance, with the open net to potentially make it a 3-1, but they were able to grind it out nevertheless. And as a result, Nashville does pick up the 2-1 win. Massive, massive victory, obviously, not only extending the season, but getting it back to home ice where Friday night is going to be absolutely insane. For whatever the Venn diagram of people that had tickets to see Morgan Wallen at Nissan Stadium on Friday and Preds fans, now all of a sudden that world is intertwined. Somebody's going to have to make a decision because downtown Nashville is going to be bonkers as the Preds are back home for Game 6, where Chris and I talked about it off air on Monday's show. The game ops for the Preds has come under a lot of scrutiny. Game number 3 was not the most conducive to a home ice advantage. It was very vanilla. A lot of the overlays were very cookie cutter. The music was not great. Sunday was a little better, but the Preds assured fans that they were going to make Sunday better, but if they could get a chance to go back to home ice on Friday, be prepared for a playoff-like atmosphere. And lo and behold, the team backs them up, and we'll get just that coming up on Friday.
So things should be on 10 for Bridgestone Arena Friday night, then, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And, the crazy thing is, obviously, unless you win 6 and 7, this is likely going to be your last home playoff game. I mean, unless you move on to the next round, this is the last one you got at Bridgestone.
Can't hold anything back, right?
No, dude. Yeah, do not hold anything back at this point, my friend.
Okay, so what is the catfish count?
Catfish count got to be at least 5. Teresa would probably say 3 in the pregame, which I was blown away, by the way. We got
3 before three before the puck dropped, right?
3 before the puck drop, and that place was electric. And then obviously Sunday, sister went to the game. I don't know what the official count was that she had, but it doesn't matter because we saw the beers getting shotgunned out of the catfish on the stage. We had Levis kissing catfish. I mean, that was on Sunday. Imagine what Friday night is going to look like, my friend.
Here's what you need to imagine what Friday night is going to be like. You mentioned Morgan Wallen at Nissan. Apparently, there's also an event at the Ryman Friday night. And the Sounds are at home. Yeah. I don't know how you get downtown Friday night.
I have a secret remedy and a secret trick, but I am not telling anybody because there is one mode that is not used very much in terms of public transport that I use, and I don't want the secret to get out. So I apologize to the.
I don't blame you. I'd hang on to that too, but
it involves 2 wheels and pedals. That's all I'm gonna say.
My suggestion would be to get a room Thursday night, probably.
That's your best bet. I still have not seen a puck drop time. It was rumored of 6:30 and 7 last night. I have not seen an official announcement one way or the other yet, though.
Well, it will drop, though. So should be interesting. And again, they should have a little momentum and a little confidence coming off of that third period in particular with Yossi and Carrier. And, Vancouver ran their number 3 goalie out there again and for the most part got it done until that puck got loose from under him for the eventual game winner right there. So,
yeah, both of the goals last night for Nashville were not textbook, picture perfect goals, not aesthetically pleasing goals, but they were things of beauty to Predators fans, no doubt about it.
As the late Pat Summitt would say, survive in advance. That's all you're trying to do at this point. No style points necessary or looked for. As I was doing some show prep earlier today, came across this note. Former Florida State quarterback Marcus Outson, who got the start for the Seminoles. Tennessee fans will recognize the name. He got the start for the Seminoles in that 1998 first ever BCS championship game that the Vols won over Florida State, died this week from complications associated with a rare immune deficiency disorder. And I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but it's very unfortunate. I mean, obviously, again, this was in 98 that he started that game for UT, so that's not even 30 years ago. The guy's, what, late 40s, early 50s, I guess, and passed last night, I guess. So hate to hear that, but certainly wanted to acknowledge that loss and, condolences to the Florida State football community and college football. Outson got that start when Chris Winkie, Heisman Trophy winner Chris Winkie, was hurt and unavailable late in the year for Florida State. And they managed to get to that game before losing 23-16 to UT. We're going to skip the next thing I've got on the run of show. But portal activity. Just can't get away from it these days. And
you can talk about it every single day, I feel like, right?
Could. We almost have a portal segment these days. Belmont's Kate Tyson has landed. And I mean, if Casey Alexander can take any comfort from his losses, I mean, all of these guys are going to Power 5 programs, the guard Jacoby Gillespie left and has wound up at Maryland. Malik Dia, who came from Vanderbilt, is back in the Southeastern Conference at Ole Miss. And now guard Cade Tyson is at North Carolina. That's I bet on yourself, I guess. And the climate of college basketball these days is that. The number 16 player in the CBS Sports transfer rankings was Cade Tyson, 6'7" guard, and can clearly shoot it. So that's a nice ad for Hubert Davis in North Carolina and a nice move for Cade Tyson. So,
yeah, and these are moves, we've kind of free agency, if you will, or excuse me, portal news, if you will, has kind of somewhat cooled now. We've kind of really entered the low laying levels, but these are still important pieces. And kind of like we talked with Chip yesterday about MTSU, I mean, especially teams that have either lost a lot or have significant holes to fill for whatever reason. These are some guys that will be crucial. And these are guys that come next March, maybe we're not talking about them winning all SEC or, Naismith Award winners, but we're going to be talking about guys that are making big contributions on teams that have dreams of cutting down the nets on the first Monday night in April.
Exactly. And, I don't know that Arkansas will wind up being one of those teams with those dreams, but John Calipari had to build a roster and got some help in the form of former Florida Atlantic guard Johnell Davis, who we had talked about was down to Kentucky and Arkansas. He's headed to Fayetteville, apparently. The reigning co-player of the year in the American Athletic Conference, one of the top perimeter scorers in the country, obviously played a huge role in FAU getting to the Final Four a year ago. And now both he and Dusty May have gone off to different pastures. So Florida Atlantic 25-9 this past season, 14-4 in their first year in the AAC. Davis averaged 18 points and some change, along with 6+ rebounds and almost 3 assists. So he shouldn't hurt an Arkansas team that also has Jonas Adu.
Yep. And, Dusty, that was the thing with Michigan, just to get on the Wolverine soapbox for a second. That was the thing when they hired him immediately was how many of those guys could he bring with him to Ann Arbor? And he ended up getting a pretty good piece in Vlad Golden, one of his big centers, but he obviously looks like could not bring them all. So John L. Davis, Florida Atlantic had a really talented team. It was just that shows you how precious those runs are. As talented as they were the last 2 years, they kind of, dare I say, disappointed in many respects this year, especially considering how hyped they were coming into the season. But these kids can all three play, the big three at least. And that's a decent pickup. Like you said, Arkansas slowly churning, trying to make a little butter heading into next year.
Absolutely. UT, not to be left out, picked up forward Igor Milicic. Think I got that right, Wade? Milicic.
That'll work for me.
Yeah,
Milicic.
That's what we're going to go with until we hear from Bob Kessling. But news on Bob Kessling, we'll probably get to that tomorrow. But yeah, 6'10", 225 forward. Milicic previously played at Virginia as a freshman, spent the last 2 years at Charlotte, averaged almost 13 points, almost 9 boards for the 49ers this past year, shooting 49% from the floor and 38% from behind the arc. So 8.6 boards against Duke, 13 points and 5 rebounds against FAU, 8 and 5 against South Florida. So true stretch 4 even at 6'10". So he must have seen Mr. Connect and decided, you know what? I can go do that. Going to look interesting at UT with this guy. Ohio State transfer Felix Okpara in the middle, and Darlington Dubar from Hofstra out on the perimeter. They've kind of remade some things as well to go with Zakai and some other pieces that were returning. So,
yeah, good core still there. Obviously, losing Connect is just massive, but that'll be the interesting thing, right? Tennessee, the bar has been raised now after such a run like that, but you kind of really, in many respects, caught lightning in a bottle with Connect, probably far and above beyond your wildest dreams last year. And so rebuilding and retooling with some quality pieces like this, UT is going to be still in pretty good shape, I think, next year.
You'd like to think so. I mean, again, as you said, kind of caught lightning in a bottle to some degree because you had no idea Connect was going to be as good or as impactful as he was, but you also didn't feel like he would necessarily need to be given what else they had returning.
Yeah,
so,
there's icing on the cake in some respects.
Yeah, but clearly he was their best player this past year, and refortifying that roster is it's going to look interesting. The SEC is going to look interesting with all of the moves that are being made across the conference. Tennessee baseball dropped its annual, disappointing midweek loss. Last night it was Lipscomb. The Bisons go to Lindsey Nelson Stadium and get a 9-6 win, snapping they swept Missouri this past weekend. They beat Western Carolina midweek last week, and they took their last two games at Kentucky. So Tennessee had won 6 straight prior to last night. They fall to 37-8 with that loss, but I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, again, you said it best. It's one of those. I mean, very rare do you see the teams just absolutely just cakewalk through the regular season. There's an inevitable slip up along the way.
Yeah, and they'll get refocused. They've got do they go to Florida this weekend? What do they got next?
Down at Florida.
Yeah, at Florida. So
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Early. Okay.
Yep. First pitch tomorrow night at 6
on ESPN.
Yes. Well, yeah, correct. 6 p.m. tomorrow, 5:30 on Saturday, and then 5:30 Friday. My days are all confused now just looking at that. And then 5:30 on Saturday to cap it out.
Yeah, and all three of them are televised. Again, the Thursday games on ESPN, Friday and Saturday on the SEC network. Should be fun. Let's head to a break here. When we return to the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes, we will be joined by VALAIR SHABILLA talking a little Nashville Soccer Club. So stay with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We'll be right back. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, coming to you from the Lee Company Studios. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. It's Wild and Wacky Wednesday, and in our final segment of the show, we will be bringing you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. So stay with us for that. It's been a pretty wild and wacky season over at Geodis Park for the Nashville Soccer Club. Scrolling through the MLS standings, and you got to scroll a while before you get to number 14, Nashville, in the 15-team Eastern Conference. VALAIR SHABILLA, what is up with NSC?
Well, how long do you guys have?
as long as
it's going to cut it.
No, oh wow, okay.
No,
give us the quick and dirty then.
Yeah. I'll make it simple. I think Nashville SC has a bit of a staleness problem. Things are not improving. It seems like the messages. Here's the thing: the things they are doing, they are known for, that they are supposed to be really good at, they're no longer good at, and those were the things carrying them.
Oh. Okay.
So Nashville SC and Gary Smith are known to be defensive style soccer. They are the ones that will maybe let you score one goal, probably won't let you score any goals, and then maybe they'll go on the other end, score, and that's how they made their bread and butter. Defensive organization, disciplined players, no mistakes, nothing. Don't give the opponent anything. Let them earn everything. And what has happened this season is the complete opposite of that, where individual mistakes, even the one just last game this past weekend, defensive organization is all over the place at this point, and they're conceding at an alarming rate. They haven't had a clean sheet or a shutout in 10 games straight now, and that's not good for Nashville SC because, again, that was their bread and butter. That's the main problem.
So when you hang your hat on defense and scoring is secondary, if that, and then you're not playing defense, it's a little different than when you score a lot of goals and then you only score a few, because right. You don't leave the style of play that Nashville plays leaves them really no room for error, I guess.
Exactly. There are teams around the league, for example, the LA Galaxy, they really right now this season they excel in conceding a whole lot of goals, but they also excel in scoring a whole lot of goals. So all of their matches are, wild shootouts here and there. to where Nashville SC, Columbus Crew's kind of like that. They've been better defensively lately. They won the MLS Cup last season, of course, so they're really good at certain things, at being possession-based team and having the ball. These are the things that Nashville SC just have never been. They have been a defense-first team, and to be honest, that has worked for them. I mean, they haven't missed the playoffs. They've made a run to the Leagues Cup final. Now they did lose in the final, but it's been a recipe. I wouldn't say for success necessarily, but it definitely wasn't as a recipe for failure as it is right now for them.
Yeah, and Valair, as you said a buzzword a minute ago, and I've been scratching my head wondering what was wrong with this team for a couple weeks now, and or how bad was it? And you said stale earlier, and just it resonated with me because they haven't played the flashiest brand of soccer the last several seasons anyway. But the fact that now we're conceding, like you're saying, at this rate, it just seems flat, and there's just not that buzz. You can get jazzed up about, a 1-1 draw if you look hard enough, but the 1-1 draws versus a team like San Jose and the way that they seem to be playing right now, it does just seem flat. And I can't put my finger on that. Is there something beyond the efforts from the guys on the pitch right now? How far does this go up the chain of command?
It is all the way through. I think there are a couple things you can look at Nashville's build and the way they've built this roster. They have, I will say, the number one contributor to that is the injuries. I mean, I know every team has injuries, and I'm not using that as an excuse. They should have done better even with the injuries, but the number one thing that's affecting this is the injuries. They've been very, very unlucky with injuries this season, going from DP star players to depth pieces. Everybody's been hurt, seems like, especially in defense. There's been a lot of switching. The other part of it is that they have, for the most part, Nashville SC attack has been reliant on Hani Mukhtar. All their eggs is in one basket. They brought him in. He seems like he's finally getting in with some of the rhythm, but he's still not really banging goals in. Now, when you look at a guy like Randall Leal, who is the highest paid non-DP player. So, he's making a good bit of money, and he's played only 12 minutes this season and got injured again. So I think injuries is the first thing. And the second thing is the lack of game-changing players. And then I would add one more thing in that in midfield, Nashville SC just didn't add enough. I think they added a couple really good pieces in Drew Yearwood and Amar Sejdic. I think those both are good MLS midfielders. I think they still needed to go out and get somebody to link up the play between the defense and the offense, which is something we talked about pretty much all of last year. Dax McCarty left to go to Atlanta, and they didn't renew with him, which he was pretty much the only linking piece, and he was a 36-year-old. Dax McCarty is a legend in MLS, but 36-year-old, he can only play so much. You can't depend solely on him. And instead of kind of adding to that, they kind of went the younger route, but a different style of players who can cover the pitch rather than connect the pitch maybe. And I think that's been kind of a downfall for them. Now, again, I think without the injuries, you're looking at somebody like Randall Leal, who's healthy. You're looking at Sam Surridge not missing time. Walker Zimmerman just played for the first time in 10 games or so this past game against San Jose. Tyler Boyd, another big money guy they brought in, who hasn't really been able to play. So I do think things will get better, and I think the data will tell us that things will get better for Nashville SC. I don't think 14th in the East is where this roster belongs, and I don't think that's where they're going to end up. However, when you start a season like that, I mean, you guys have watched sports. You know when you start like that, when it's only 25% of the season that's through, but it's so hard to climb up. Once everybody else is collecting points higher up in the table, you're left at the bottom. And then the other thing is accumulating, right? So like they weren't able to get a result against San Jose. Fans are on them. There's a lot of pressure on them. There are certain things they're not doing right. And now these things become such a big problem because there aren't results on the other end.
Valair Shabilla joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, talking a little Nashville Soccer Club. And Valair, is where NSC is right now, is it particularly disappointing when you go back last summer and their performance in the CONCACAF Nations Cup and that kind of thing? There was a lot of really good vibes around this team at that time. Does that make this especially disappointing?
Yeah, I think the Leagues Cup was, making all the way to the final. Nobody expected that, honestly. Not even the biggest optimists expected that. It was the first year ever of the Leagues Cup. We didn't know what we're in for, really. But Nashville SC were fairly lucky with having home field advantage throughout most of the cup, but also went out to Cincinnati, the Supporters Shield winner, and won a game there in penalties. They were able to beat two Liga MX teams that have double, triple, if not more, of their budget. So that they clearly performed really well, made it to the final, and made it to the very last kick of the final, of the 11th penalty kick by the goalkeeper, Elliot Panico. That's how close they were to winning the first ever trophy in Nashville SC history. Now, everything following that has been a steep decline. Even when you look at the end of last season, I mean, it was not fun to watch them play. It was pretty miserable out there. And I think, and Gary Smith has talked about this as well, it was a lot of emotional sort of exhaustion. It was emotional, was physical. They've played a lot of games. These rosters are not that big. MLS rosters are generally smaller than other leagues rosters. And they were just getting that close to achieving something that big, and coming to the very last kick and losing it, I think really affected the team. And you can see it throughout last year. Now, what we thought is that coming into the season, a lot of those things will be corrected. They had a break. They have a preseason. They have a couple new pieces that everybody's excited about. And really, that just hasn't come out this season. We haven't seen a different Nashville SC. Now, I believe that the problems they were suffering from last year are different than this year, because last year they couldn't score. This year they can score, but they can't seem to figure out the balance of how to score without leaving yourself vulnerable at the back. And again, when a team is used to being very strong at the back, and one goal usually meant Nashville SC will either win or draw. Two goals almost always guaranteed a win for Nashville SC, to where now two goals won't even get you a draw in most cases, because you're conceding two goals. So they need to score 3, 4, 5, and that's just not who Nashville SC are. They're not built to do that.
And Valair, you mentioned Mo, you froze for a second there.
Oh, how about now?
Yep, you're good.
You got me now?
Yep.
As I was trying to say, Valair, they've only played 9.
I think we're losing you again.
Go ahead.
That part of it. I think Mo was going to say only played 9 games. And it kind of walked into Mo and I are, I think, on the same wavelength here, because Valair, it's a bit of a stretch, but I got to give a shout out to you and I's good buddy Clay Trainum. We're big Everton fans, and as wild and downtrodden of a year as they've had, all of a sudden you lose 6-0 to Chelsea. You're saying, oh my goodness, the season, you're ready to throw in the towel. And then look at what's happened in a very short amount of time. You can really turn the tables, and now they're kind of the hot team in the English Premier League. Could Nashville, in just a few quick games, make a similar turnaround in your mind?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, look, like I said, it's 25% of the season. That it's 9 games. It's not. Look, this is a league where over 65% of the teams make the playoffs. Okay. And I think when you look at a team like Sporting Kansas City last year, they went the first 10 games without a single win last year. And they ended up making the play-in round. They won in the play-in round and then won in the first round of the playoffs. So, yeah, it's very possible they can still turn things around. And it's funny because Clay said that on our show, literally almost word for word about Everton, of course. But when you look at Nashville,
we stick together like that.
Yeah. Adversity really builds your character.
Mm-hmm.
but for Nashville, you know, I mean, again, the table right now, or the standings as we call them here, they're not really. They don't tell you a whole lot right now because there's only been 9. Some teams have played 10, and Miami have played 11, and that's really it. So you probably need about 4 or 5 more games to see more separation really happening in the standings. At this point, what's kind of discouraging for Nashville SC is that there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of improvements. So generally, if they create a ton of options, if they create a ton of chances, and they only finish 1 or 2 of them, we can kind of analyze that and say, okay, they keep creating at this certain rate, and eventually those goals will go in. If you see tweaks and maybe a referee decision goes against them and that's why they lose, or a certain sort of individual mistake that only happened one time, yes, we can see silver lining and kind of where this team can build up. The positives are so hard to look at the moment for Nashville SC because of how negative they're playing. So it's really hard for people like me who are analyzing the team to go and say, well, they still have injuries and they have that and they have this. They played 9 games in MLS, but they've also played 4 other games in the Champions Cup. So, you know, we've had about 15 games, 13 games to be exact, of Nashville SC soccer, and nothing has indicated that they have improved a whole lot. Now, again, 1 win changes everything, and you guys know more than anybody that winning solves everything in sports. It stops fights in the stands. I've seen it right in front of me. It stops fights in on the field, and it makes everybody happier. And even for us, the media, I mean, when Nashville SC wins, people are not yelling at me as much, which I like. So I prefer that personally. But they need to get that first win, I think. And they're winless in 5 at the moment. So they really need that first win.
Just win, baby. VALAIR SHABILLA joining us here on Main Street Sports today, talking a little Nashville Soccer Club. The next game is when?
Saturday.
Star Wars
at
night.
Geodis against Montreal.
Yes.
So 7:30 game. You can see it on Apple TV, but get out to Geodis Park, support these guys. They could use it. So VALAIR, we appreciate you taking some time with us. Look forward to catching up with you under better circumstances soon.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me as always.
Thank you,
All
VALAIR.
righty. Hey, when we come back on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOAF Columbia, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Wade and I will be bringing you some of the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Stay tuned when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this. I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros.
Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that Eli's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No. No.
Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's just
you got that right, and
that's bottom line.
Be a buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So
I think the panty pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It did. It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football. There's a baseball. Maybe not a puck. How about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Before we get to Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports today, want to mention the Braves are up 4-0 in the top of the fourth. So avoiding the sweep. Don't want to jinx anything, but things looking pretty good for the visitors out at T-Mobile Park right now. Speaking of baseball, as we get into Wild and Wacky Wednesday, we're going to start it with I can't find an article on this, but I did see it on Twitter a couple of days ago and on Facebook. Apparently, we talk a lot about the team in the Bay Area, the Major League Baseball team in the Bay Area that is not the San Francisco Giants. That's probably the best way to refer to them right now, right, Wade? Apparently there is a fan, a former season ticket holder of the Athletics Baseball Club, as Chris has chosen to refer to him, the ABCs. He is no longer a home season ticket holder, but he is traveling to all 81 of the team's road games.
Love that.
I would love to be able to do that, but that's the level of petty to which I aspire right there. He is going to all 81 road games and not a single game that they play at their home facility. So surely there will be more forthcoming on that, and we will try to keep you abreast of it as it happens. But that's pretty amazing to me. 81 road games. Keep an eye out for that.
That is, that's the dream, right? That's one of the sports bucket lists is to go around and check out every Major League Baseball park. For some, that's a lifetime goal. For this guy,
it's not typically a one season thing, but I'd love to see his expense report at the end of the year.
But yeah, that would be quite the receipt.
You kind of got to be independently wealthy to do something like that, right?
We need that 50-1 King Mo long shot to come in on Saturday.
Grand Mo,
to attempt such an endeavor. Hey, real quick, speaking of baseball, Mo, concession stand is always a big part of the ballpark. Dollar hot dog night will usually get folks out to the crowd, out to the stadium, whether they care about the game or not. It certainly would me. I've been prime over the years. The New York Mets of NL East fame recently did such an endeavor. They had $1 hot dog night, $1 at a Major League Baseball game. That alone is a news story. But on that night, they sold a record 44,269 hot dogs. They only had 22,880 announced as their attendance that night, meaning they sold about 2 per fan.
Yeah.
So in addition to setting the record, however, there was it's interesting. VALAIR mentioned fighting in the fans. I don't know that it was necessarily fighting, but at some point during the game, a group of fans kind of got into it, and fans started hurling hot dogs at one particular fan who I think maybe was kind of asking for it. He had a shirt and it said "Bad day to be a glizzy." And on one side of his shirt, he's got his tally marker where a Sharpie. And at last count, he was up to 9 dogs. On the other side of the shirt, he had 10 beers. So this fan, in addition to getting pelted by dogs, he was asked to leave in the 9th inning. I don't know how much the beers cost, but he spent $9 on hot dogs. That's pretty good value in my book, even if he had pelting from some of his other Mets fans.
If you spend $9 on hot dogs, you don't necessarily mind the higher price beers for that. So, wow. It's not hot dogs that the Minnesota Twins are embracing these days, but it is summer sausage, one in particular. The team has adopted a Cloverdale Foods tangy summer sausage. Hitting coach David Popkins brought one into the dugout during their game Thursday against the White Sox. They were down 2-0 in the bottom of the 6th. Popkins brings a summer sausage into the dugout, has the players tap it before they hit, you know what happens next. Edouard Julien and Ryan Jeffers homered in the same inning. Carlos Santana added one in the 8th. Jeffers tossed the summer sausage to Santana once he got back to the dugout, touching off a celebration. And the sausage has been in the Twins dugout since. They swept the White Sox. They won 3 straight against the Angels, scoring 32 runs and with 45 hits. Beat Chicago 3-2 on Monday. So the summer sausage may be around for a while, and they are already trying to figure out how to get it through customs into Toronto for an upcoming road trip.
The sausage must be preserved at all costs for the Twins, right?
And apparently it's not being refrigerated, so preservation not nearly as big a concern as perhaps it should be for the summer sausage. But
how does this story end is what I'm trying to visualize.
I don't know. I don't know if it ends when they try to go through customs and it gets confiscated, or if it ends when the package opens and everybody has to vacate the dugout, or
that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? It
an unrefrigerated sausage after a period of time is not going to be very appealing to the olfactory nerves, so
no,
very
that
interesting.
would no.
Yeah, exactly.
Oof.
Good luck,
Mo,
Twins.
good luck to the Twins. Hey, you mentioned crossing borders. Let's skip across the globe to the town of Fujikawa Guchioko. Best I could do, folks.
Sure.
A town in Japan. You mentioned levels of petty and aspiration earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the town of Fujikawa Guchioko has had enough. They've had enough of tourists. Apparently, tourists have been lining up in this town over the years to get a near perfect shot of the nearby Mount Fuji. However, the town has said due to issues with littering, crossing the road with traffic, ignoring traffic lights, trespassing into private properties, the town has they just built a wall, essentially. They've constructed a large black screen on a stretch of the sidewalk that now blocks the view of the mountain. They say we're a town built on tourism and we welcome our visitors, and the town welcomes them too. This is an owner of a cafe nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Says, I welcome the visitors and the town welcomes them too, but there are too many things about their manners that are worrying. So chalk that one up for everybody just had to ruin a good thing. The tourists leaving their trash and, dragging friends and family in the middle of the street with selfie sticks to get the picture of Mount Fuji. This shop just said, you know what? We're just going to build a giant screen. And so now that picture perfect view, no longer there.
Wow.
Petty wars.
That's unfortunate, but people ruin things sometimes, so
as we like to say, this is why we can't have nice things.
That's it. That is it right there in a nutshell. That's unfortunate. Coming back into the States. Story from Washington State. Zebras get loose near highway exit, gallop into Washington community before most are corralled. North Bend, Washington. 4 zebras escaped from their trailer and galloped into a neighborhood. 3 of the 4 were immediately captured. The 4th was still on the loose a day later. The zebras were being transported from Washington to Montana when the driver got off the Interstate 90 to secure the trailer. Might have secured the trailer, didn't secure the zebras. 4 zebras just running down the road along the off ramp, stopping and eating grass. Apparently, a bunch of drivers kind of got together and kind of circled the wagons, as it were, to block them in, but they didn't catch all of them. Like we said, there's one that a day later was still out and about. So if you're in Washington, look out for a wild zebra, I guess.
Zebra on the loose.
Zebra on the loose.
That's not one. That'd be a good rallying cry for the Mariners as soon as they're done with their series versus the Braves, of course.
Of course.
It'd be good for them to somehow incorporate the lone zebra into the fold there, because surely they can come up with something there, right?
Crazy zebras. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Mo, did we discuss this? I hope I'm not regurgitating. Did we discuss in the last 2 weeks a story about a family in Canada whose unfortunate their father passed away in Cuba? Have we discussed this?
Maybe. Continue.
I don't know that we have.
Okay.
And if we have, viewers, I apologize.
Then we'll just discuss it twice.
Yeah, there's been so many wild and wacky stories, but this is one worth repeating, if nothing else. A family in Quebec is searching for answers when they discovered that their father's remains didn't make it to Canada from Cuba, where he died on vacation. Instead, Mo, they received the remains of another man.
Oh, no.
Funerals for Jean-Alain Jajour were scheduled for Sunday and Monday. Instead, his daughter is contacting everybody saying, this is the wrong body. Up until we have no answers, where's my father? The father passed away while on vacation in Cuba, as I mentioned, in mid-March. Unfortunate heart attack and passed away. But because there were no medical facilities, his body was covered and left on a beach for a little bit, and then was finally taken care of in Cuba. But after that, they don't know what happened to the body. And she received a different body. It was, quote, a Russian man who was at least 20 years younger than her father. And unlike her father, who apparently was follically challenged, rest in peace, unlike her father, the body had a full head of hair and tattoos. So it wasn't as even if it was a similar looking individual. The body was shipped and it was a person with hair and tattoos.
That would be amazingly shocking. Yeah, that's tough, especially at that time. That's a little past wild and wacky, actually. But yeah,
and I was hoping there was some sort of uplifting news at the end of this, and unfortunately not. But because I'm wondering, I hate to say this, but after incurring expenses, I mean, I don't see Cuba not really super primed to negotiate as far as recouping your expenses that you incurred trying to get the body back, right?
Yeah, good luck with that. I don't think they're going to be very cooperative as far as that goes. Wade, you have cats. I have cats. Anybody that has cats knows how much they love playing in boxes. 6-year-old house cat from Utah wound up going on an interesting excursion as a result of getting into a box that got sealed up with something that was returned to Amazon.
Oh my.
The cat was found in a Amazon warehouse in California with a pair of steel-toed boots that had been returned. So we realized that our sweet kitty must have jumped into that box without us knowing, said the owner. They were reunited, but goodness gracious, check your boxes if you have cats before you ship them off. And if you're a cat
with
owner,
the steel-toed boots too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if she was in the boot or just in the box, but fortunately she had been microchipped, and
thank goodness
we were able to reunite cat and owner. So wild and wacky. Thanks for joining us here on the Wednesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back tomorrow to the Lee Company Studios. It's Coach's Corner, and we have, who do we have? I don't know who we have tomorrow, but come back at 2:00 and we'll have somebody. So Wade Neely, Maurice Patton, we'll see you tomorrow at 2:00.